Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Ruben Amorim's dreams seem to be coming true in relation to transfer targets, but also mine. I mean, I don't know whether Ruben watches this United Stand community, but it just feels like we've spoken so much about I'd like Kuna, I'd like Edison. I'm expecting us to sign Frimpong next because Fabrizio Romano in the last hour has just dropped a big update in relation to Edison. Kofi says, I love that Simon Jordan clapback. You'll have to explain to me what that is. But yeah, lots to get into on the show tonight. Betis want Antony for another year on loan. Apparently, Anana's bought a new house in Manchester. We've also got updates around Ahmad, Kuna, and also a couple of other bits as well about Osimhen from Ornstein. But this is the big drop. This is the big news. This is about Edison. Now, I know Beth was speaking about Edison this morning, but there's more come out tonight, and it's really positive stuff. I'm really happy that this player is back on the agenda. We've probably spoken about Edison on this channel, I'd say, for a good 18 months, 2 years. And I personally remember talking about him when Ten Hag was here and saying that, would he, in a midfield three of Ten Hag, would he work well in the 6 or the 8? I think at Atalanta, he's probably more all-action 8. He can get goals and assists, but also he can do the intense defensive work. But I think in a sporting system, he would work really well in the double pivot, whatever you want to call it there as well. I'd really like this. I agree with Denton. Yes, please, for Edison. So what's the story before we start talking about why we'd like him? Because we can all do that. I mean, I bloody like Gyökeres. We're not being linked to him. This is what Romano has said in the last hour. Internally, they really do like Edison. They'd see him as a fantastic signing that's perfect for Amorim's system. Intensity, all action, and he's certainly 100% a target for Manchester United this summer, with internal talks going on about how to approach this deal. So this is the first midfield, and we know we need a midfielder, by the way. I know people talk about Casemiro and whether Casemiro will go, but remember Edison is going. We've got Agate, an ageing Casemiro on 350k a week. Bruno, who started off as a 10. Edison, who's going. Mainu, who we don't know whether he's going to be a midfielder or an attacker anyway. And obviously youngsters like Collier. So I think that you've got, if you want to be real, you've got to get players that are ready to go. And look, I mean, to be fair, Romano says the price is 40 to 50 million euros. We've worked with Atalanta before, and Fabrizio says, look, Atalanta are no mugs. They're a difficult club to deal with, and there is a concern there, which he mentions, and I'll mention in a minute. But realistically, I don't think it goes against us. Like, we have a good relationship with Atalanta. Ahmad, Rasmus, both deals were done in a way that some people would say were very expensive, but also I think that are yeah, they're expensive, but we did good deals with them. Like both Ahmad and Rasmus, whatever you think about them, I was excited about both signings. But the deals we did with that Atalanta were expensive, but we didn't pay it outright. We did it in installments with both of them, which is why we're still paying for Rasmus now. So if you do buy Edison, I think I would look on it as a positive that it's a bit like Lenny Yoro. We didn't spend £50 million or £53 million on Yoro. We spent about 10 and another 10 this year and another 10 next year. So I think with, Atalanta are definitely not going to be very easy to deal with. But on the flip side of positivity, you'd be doing something with installments involved anyway, which is what we're going to have to do. So look, I'm really intrigued by this one. As I said, it feels like at the moment, apparently this would be a really dream signing for Amorim. I think it'd be a dream signing for me personally, and maybe some of you as well. I mean, it was only, last week where we were talking about experienced players that you'd like to bring in as opposed to some of the youngsters we've been linked to. And I specifically remember saying, Costa in goal, Anacho at centre-back, Edison in the midfield, Kuna as the 10, Frimpong as the right-sided player, and an Osimhen or a Gyökeres. We're not going to get all of those. I don't genuinely think we'll get half of them. But I tell you what, 2 out of 5 ain't bad. Get Meatloaf singing if he wasn't dead. But it ain't bad. And if we can get Edison and Kuna, I've got to say, I still think we might get Iheanacho as well, the way things are going. It just feels like the players we're mentioning are actually the players the club are looking at, which is weird. I mean, maybe that's the way they scout now. They're listening to you in the community on the United Stand. I mean, we are the biggest and the best, but I'm biased, of course. But yeah, I can't hide the fact that I'd be very, very happy about this. One thing Fabrizio did say, though, is that unlike Kuna deal, this would be something where Atalanta would wait until the end of the season. They won't be negotiating with Man United now, like we are with Wolves. They would be waiting till the summer because there are other clubs interested, and obviously they'd be looking to drive that price up. So I think this would be a very difficult deal to do. Very, very difficult. And I don't think we could sit there and go, we're going to get this deal done. It's another great deal. I will even be fair to Amorim. Well, not Amorim. It's not Amorim's fault. I'll even be fair to Wilcox, Barada, Sir Jim on this one, because there will be competition for that place. And Atalanta are not going to do a deal early. And we don't know where Edison wants to go. And we don't know what other clubs are going to be looking at him. And I would also say, with this type of signing, Champions League football is going to be absolutely essential, because if come the end of May, start of June, you knock on the door of Atalanta and say, we're interested in Edison, he's going to go, you're not even in Europe. I think I'll choose a club that is. So yeah, this is a very, I know with Kuna that we're probably going to get him regardless of European football, but I think with this, there will become a point where financially we can't get Kuna and Delap and Edison if we're not in Europe. And also, I think this is the sort of player that would be looking for European football as well. But that doesn't mean we can discount it. And also, I mean, we can discount it, but as I said, Fabrizio Romano's update is very, very clear. 100% a target for Manchester United, 100% being discussed around internally, and 100%, really think he'd be a fantastic signing that suits the way Amorim wants to play. What you've got to do is go and make that happen. And the way you make that happen is by winning the Europa League first and foremost, don't you? So that, I think with that really is the first thing that needs to happen. But I'd be very happy with it. Jason Brown says, if we do get Edison and Kuna, where's that leave Mainoo, Mark? I mean, I like these sort of questions, Jason, but my answer is somewhat always the same. And your question is not uncommon. If we buy Kuna, what's going to happen to Garnacho and Bruno and Xerxes and Ahmad? Well, I don't care. Is my answer, because I want competition for places. I don't want to not sign Edison because of Mainoo. I sign Edison and I say to Mainoo and Edison and Agate and Bruno and Collier and Kone, fight it out. I need squad depth. I need players on the. And look at how many injuries we get. I mean, look, we've lost Delo today. We lost Xerxes last week. We lost Delit the week before. People start going, well, what happens to Mainoo? Well, maybe Mainoo plays because Edison's injured because he's been playing too much. We need to buy starters. We don't need to buy bench players. And I think that would be my answer, Jason. I think people who are thinking about what happens to Mainoo, what happens to Ahmad, what happens to Bruno, I've always said we need to buy starters, not bench players. I can't buy players and then know that Mainoo starts ahead of them or Bruno starts ahead of them. I need to bring players in that are better than what I've got and let them fight it, because that's how you are successful. And I think Mainoo's got a great future at this football club, but that wouldn't stop me going and buying a really, really quality player like Edison, in my opinion. I reckon we can do a deal to get Edison and Retoué, says Malaki. It's the second time I've heard that name today, and apparently we are scouting him, but I think we need a little bit more on that one. Tommy says, what about Vardy on a free? Somebody said this to me yesterday in the pub. I was like, it's 2025, not 2015. It's not 10 years ago. I mean, Jamie Vardy ain't a Premier League player anymore. And no. Absolutely not. I mean, we really would be Everton then. Vardy's going to sign for Wrexham, isn't he? In their first year in the Championship. I think that's what he's going to do. Cunha, Edison, Osimhen, before pre-season equals statement by Ineos made of intent. What are your thoughts, says JSD? Well, that leads nicely on to what wasn't going to be next, but it was only going to be a quick update anyway. In relation to Osimhen, I think David Ornstein put this out yesterday, but I haven't spoken about it, so I'm going to put it out here now. Apparently, the issue with Osimhen and clubs in the Premier League not really looking at him revolve around salary demands and whether he's the right character to bring into the team. That's quite damning, And David Ornstein's not that guy, but he's also honest. And I think that you can't ignore the fact that that is coming from, you know, a very, very credible journalist saying that the reason maybe an Arsenal, a Chelsea, a Man United, a Premier League club, a top Premier League club who needs a striker, why are they not looking at one of the best strikers in Europe? And it is a puzzler. I've said it about Jonathan David, but it is a puzzler. Why is it that nobody's being linked to Osimhen? And David Ornstein saying a lot of it is to do with salary and whether he's the right character to bring in. Now, I know nothing about Osimhen's character. And I'm not allowed, it's not the first time I've heard it, but I know nothing about it. He doesn't play in the Premier League. Obviously, I know there was a fallout at Napoli. I know he nearly went to Saudi last year. So you can start to, you can make aspersions and you can start to be stereotypical and say, oh, he's another striker that's a problem. But that's not always a problem anyway. I mean, a striker that's a bit arrogant and up themselves isn't necessarily a bad thing. We've had them at United before. So I think it's the finances here, isn't it? He obviously, you don't want to bring a player in if you're Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool. You don't want to bring a player in that first thing they're saying to you is, what are you going to pay me? And I think that's something that's changed in the Premier League a lot over the recent years. And maybe that's to do with Pep Guardiola. Maybe it's to do with Jurgen Klopp. Maybe it's to do with both. I think a lot of clubs now want people who want the project, not people who want the money. And we, as a football club, have been burnt terribly about that. It's a shame, though, because I'd still take Osimhen, but I'm only feeding what David Ornstein has said there. And I think he will go to Saudi because I think they're going to be able to offer him the money. How are we going to afford this? I thought we were broke. I feel like it's more spin and we won't actually go for a lot of these players, says Ash. Well, time will tell, Ash. Time will tell. And M. Parker with the super chat says, what's the point if we get 10 new players if no new keeper? You have to get an Arna out. Do it for Seb, Mark, for Seb. I can't do it in another year with an Arna. Well, I want to talk about Kuna next because there's a very interesting point about wages and how we can afford this. But look, I don't know the validity of this story, but I did see it just before I went live. It was being shared out by lots of aggregators that apparently, and look, I can neither confirm or deny this story. Apparently, Onana is buying a £3.5 million house in Manchester. Now, it is Friday night, and we do banter anyway, and it is Friday night. It's a little bit of a different show, so throw your questions in. But I did read one of the replies, and it did make me chuckle. It said, so the headline was, Onana gives hint about his future by buying a new £3.5 million house. And the top reply was, oh, so he makes bad decisions off the pitch as well, does he? Which did make me chuckle a little bit, because I know for a fact that Amorim wants him gone, basically. He wants to replace him. So why would you go and buy a £3.5 million house in a city where your manager would like to replace you? Now, maybe he knows he's not getting replaced and wants to live in a better house for 12 months. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe it is a transfer hint. But what I think what everybody bloody knows is that is not Amorim's guy. That is Ten Hag's guy, and it seems to have become more and more of a thing that I never realised in football. I think with goalkeepers, new managers used to come in and go, he's a safe pair of hands. Literally, he can stay. But I think more and more, and again, I think Pep Guardiola started this. Joe Hart was a decent Premier League goalkeeper when Pep Guardiola came in, and he replaced him. And I think that, more and more in the modern game, it's one of the, I mean, obviously there's other positions, but a lot of managers want their own guy in goal. And it's no different for Amorim. So I don't know. I don't know what it means. What about Ramsdale with Arteta? Did Arteta not buy Ramsdale, though? I mean, that doesn't make any difference. You buy it doesn't, just because you bought somebody doesn't mean, I mean, Pep did that as well, didn't he? He bought a goalkeeper before Edison. And he didn't rate him, so he got rid of him. So maybe that was something to do with that. I don't know. Kevin De Bruyne to Villa, says Triple M. I was talking about that on That's Football today, but I don't know whether it's come to pass or not. What do you think on signing Kevin De Bruyne before he retires, says Michael? Absolutely no. Well, Manchester United, not Manchester City. We don't buy Manchester City players, thank you. Vardy announced retirement yesterday. What now, says Johnny? This is not the Vardy stand. I don't know what's going on here. Right, let's talk about this super chat that came in from Ash, because it fits in quite nicely with the update from Romano in the last hour about Kuna. So basically, Fabrizio Romano said that, excuse me, I was out late last night. Basically, not massive update in relation to this one. He said that things are advancing with Kuna, and obviously we could get a here we go soon. Now, when are we going to get the here we go is probably what you and I would like to know. But I think when Fabrizio Romano says we're going to get a here we go soon, I genuinely think we might get this done before the end of the month, because it's a long, long way until June from this point. And I just don't think Fabrizio would say we're going to get a here we go soon if he didn't think that was going to happen. So I think that, sorry, let me just get rid of this idiot in the chat. There we go. I think that will happen soon. But there was a really interesting point about the wages there that came in, and James emailed me about this as well. How do we negotiate with Kuna about his wage? Because if we're going to sign him, surely it's not official until July. For two reasons. One, if we sign him before the end of June, it goes on this financial year, which is the same year that you've got De Ligt signing, Agate signing, Dorgu signing, Yoro signing. All those deals happened post July the 1st last year, which is this year's financial year. So if you buy Kuna before June the 30th, he's going on the same football year as that, and that's going to bankrupt us, basically. So this deal can't really be done officially until after July the 1st. But there's also another thing as well. I think we'll announce the deal pending something or other. But is it watertight? Because James made a really good point. He said, we know that if we qualify for the Champions League, most of our players' wages go up by 33%, and they come down by 33% if we're not in Europe. So what wages are we offering Kuna before he's even signed? Are we offering him 200 grand a week now, but if we qualify for the Champions League, it goes up to 250 grand a week? Or are we offering him 150 grand a week, but it will be 200 grand a week if we qualify for the Champions League? And I thought it was quite an interesting point, actually, because 33% of your wage is quite a lot of money. So what is the wage we're actually offering Kuna? Because we don't know whether in Europe or not. Will we just pay him 200 grand anyway? So PM says it's a dumb point. It's probably over your head, mate. That's why. Because it's actually a very good point. Because there is a big difference on whether you're in the Champions League or not. My point being, if we offer him 200 grand a week, he's earning 200 grand a week no matter what, isn't he? It won't be coming down by 33% if we're not in the Champions League. So there is an impact on that, and that's what I mean. How final can this deal be before the end of May? I think that's going to be very interesting. William said, I saw a montage of Cavani under Oli before. Looking back now, he was better with us than I remember him being. I'd take that 30 theory. Oh, I loved Cavani, William. I thought he was a fantastic striker. He just couldn't stay fit. Can we get here we goes before the window opens? Yes, we can. I can't read your name. Is it Luke? Yeah, weird font there, Luke. Thanks for being a member for 5 months. Yeah, we did this with Memphis Depay under Louis van Gaal. I think we announced that unless somebody in the chat can tell me, I think we announced that we were signing Memphis Depay in late March or early April, but somebody can let me know about that. Scenes when we sign Calvert Lewin, says Jide. There will be scenes because this camera that you're looking at will be all covered in carrots and stuff like that as I vomit on the screen. Hi, Mark. You've got me through lockdown with all your content. Thanks for all your work, and we are going to Bilbao, says Lee. Interesting thing about Bilbao, we will be there next week for the semi-final. Beth and our producer are going out to do some content, but it could be, hopefully, the rehearsal because that's where the final is as well. Let me talk to you about Antony. Yes. And it is Friday night, so get your own comments in tonight. Really like to just kick back and do something a little bit different on a Friday night. But there are a couple of other things I want to go through first. Slap 40% tax on wages also, so not much go-home pay, says Garfield. Yeah, I just think look, maybe it's not interesting to you, but I found it quite interesting because if we are negotiating with Kuna, obviously I don't think we can officially do the financial move until after June the 30th. But also, what wage are we actually offering him in late April? Are we going to say to him, if we qualify for Europe, we'll give you 200 grand a week, but if we don't, we'll give you 150? Or are we just going to go, we'll just give you 200 grand. That's what you're going to get either way, which I think you probably have to do, don't you? You've got to give him a pay rise, so we probably just have to give him 200 grand. I think that's what we'd have to do. And I think he's worth that, by the way. I mean, what do you think a fair wage is for Kuna? Because I actually think for a 26-year-old Premier League player that's coming in here to be an experienced player, he's going to look at someone like Mason Mount on 250 grand a week, or Harry Maguire or Luke Shaw, and say, that's what I want to be on. And I think 200 grand a week is probably quite fair, in my opinion. Player didn't want, but ended up being good, says Jide. Player that I didn't want that ended up being good. I don't know. I normally am right. So, I mean, can anybody remember from any shows that a player I really didn't want that ended up being good? To a certain extent, Matic did okay. Matic did okay, actually, to be fair. But I didn't want Matic. I really didn't want Matic. There's a video of me. I'd been out in a country pub drinking, and we were driving back, and Matic got announced, and Mrs. Goldbridge was driving, and I can't remember whether I live streamed it or filmed it. Be a funny one to watch because I was absolutely wasted. But yeah, I don't remember. I don't think it was really horrible about it. I think it was like, well, we may as well get on with it now. I sort of treated it like, you know, when you thought you're having lasagna for tea and you get home and it's not lasagna. I was like, well, I may as well have it. Would you ever let an American work on the United stand, says Mahams? 100%, mate, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to getting over there this summer, actually. So, yeah, 100%. Player didn't want... I don't like it. That's the sort of question we want later on in the show, Jide. It was good. Maz says, I don't like it when people talk bad about my handsome love Kev, but same goes for you, Mark. If you say the word, I'll put a hit on them. Okay, Maz. Who's been speaking bad about me then? Because it's probably all the time. Let me talk to you about Antony. So... another story coming in tonight that Betis are looking to get Antony on a season long loan again next year. This doesn't surprise me. This doesn't surprise me at all. I think people need to remember that Antony actually is quite a difficult sale this summer. I said this back in January. What we may need to do with Antony is... and I can't remember what we need to break even. Is it 30 million or is it 25 million? But if somebody doesn't want to give us 30 million pounds, we'd be selling him at a loss. Whereas if we loan him out for another year, next year, if he's worth 30 million because he's still quite young, we'll actually be making a profit. So it might not be a bad business point, you know. What I'm saying is, if nobody's going to give us £30 million for Antony this summer, why would you sell him at a loss? You may as well go, look, loan him out, get them to cover the wages off, and then next summer, we'll only need £20 million for him, but we might get 25 and make 5 million profit. So I think that a lot of people are moaning about, oh, we're not going to sell it. But actually, I can't be a hypocrite on this. We are stuck in that situation. Antony's not like a Rashford where it's pure profit. He's not like a Sancho where there's only 1 year left on his contract. There is still residual value on an £80 million signing, which I think is about 30 million quid. So we might have to do that. But look, it was only a couple of weeks ago that Atletico Madrid were being linked to him. So maybe something can happen there. But look, it's not the end of the world. I think the most important thing is we were never selling Antony with his money helping us out for the budget anyway. We were only ever going to break even. So that if we got 30 million for Antony, it was only ever going to go against what his amortization was anyway. So it doesn't make a hell of a lot of difference to us apart from covering his wages off. So I'm not surprised if that happens. And to be fair, if he's happy at Betis and Betis are happy to cover his wages, then it might not be a bad idea to do it. But Morbius says Antony's very sellable now. He will be very sellable, but at what price? If we can get the money and a little bit more, then you sell him. If you can't, then, you know, you've got to make a business decision, haven't you? Simple as that. Mason says, for the final, you should get in the studio with everyone. Ricky, Terry and the rest. Do the pre-match, watch along and reaction together. Good idea, Mason. We need to bring back Rashi and Sancho for the system, says Olmo. Okay. Thank you very much. PVA, thank you very much for your super chat as well. Betis must think we're blockbusters, says the RM. And I watched Edison highlights. He's another defensive destroyer. I want a CDM with football IQ, a midfielder who has the vision and can actually carry the ball, says S. Madison. Well, give us some examples, mate, that are going to be reasonably priced or even available. I think that's a fair response to what you're saying there, because you're talking to me about a player I know a lot about, Edison. Like, I knew a lot about Edison 18 months ago, and I know a lot more now. I don't see him as a defensive destroyer. In fact, when we were talking about Edison last summer, a lot of people were saying he's not a 6. So I don't think he is a defensive destroyer. I think actually Edison has got a lot of attacking flair to his game. And I would say it's a bit unfair to call him a defensive destroyer, because some people feel he couldn't be a sitting 6, which is why I think he'd be very good for our system, because we don't have a sitting 6. We have a midfield 2 who join the attack and do the defending and work in tandem. So I actually think Edison does fit the Amorim system like a glove, and his attacking tendencies are actually very good for Atalanta. So I don't know whether it's just an assumption that he's like a wish Casemiro at Real Madrid, but actually he's not. I think it would be fair to say he's more of an 8. And he's not really a destroyer like Alias says. I think he's got attacking tendencies as well. So I think, actually, if I was getting Edison, I'd be more worried about having him sitting as a defensive midfielder than I would be about doing the attacking stuff as well. I certainly don't think he's an Agate. I don't think he's the same as Agate. I think Agate is more of a defensive destroyer, the way he hunts the ball down and wins it back. I think Edison and Agate would actually work quite well together. In my opinion. True says, Mark, we ride at dawn for that Pratt on Talk Shit said about you. I don't know where this is all coming from. It actually started on the United stand. I'm really not that bothered about it. And I covered it on That's Football anyway. But yeah, I'm really not that bothered about it. People say, well, you're not that bothered about it. You spoke about it on That's Football. But I work in a content world. And if somebody says something about me like that, then obviously I've got the right to reply about it if I want to. And I felt like I would reply to it. But I think at the end of the day, I think people are worried. I think they're very worried about the enormity of what this content and comment is. I mean, look at that Lyon game. Hundreds of thousands of people watching it. That's why they're worried. They're like, why don't people listen to boring commentary anymore? That's what real football opinion's all about. Oh, yeah. You know, every bloody commentator, even Clive Tilsley, he sells pictures of his notes for a football match that he prepares before it, which is like brilliant, but it's massive grids of stats and this, that and the other. You know what I do? I click live and interact with you. So it's not scripted. It's just what it is. And people like it or they don't like it. But what's harder? Sitting there with a load of stats in front of you, reading it out, or sitting here with you lot, good people, interacting and living on your wits? We like it. What about Vitinha? Ineos are listening, says Omar. Hey, if Ineos are really listening, yeah, well, yeah, there's a guy who plays at Real Madrid who I just don't think he suits the system now they've got Mbappe. I think Rodrigo would be very good behind the striker in that too. Yeah, I think Vitinha at PSG would be very, very good as well. And I'm thinking centre-back. Who could we go for at centre-back who would suit our system and do really, really well? You know what, actually, it's a good point. Outside of the Premier League, that's not realistic. Who is the best centre-back that you'd go for outside of the Premier League now? There was always loads, but I can't really think of... And don't say Bastoni from Inter. That's what everybody says. Yeah, I knew it. XCO. Soon as I looked at the chat, Bastoni, because Stuntpeg loves him. Come on. Do better than that. I don't think Bastoni, actually. I really don't think Bastoni in a Man United system. I think Saliba would be very good, Theo, but you can't do that. You can't do that. I like Iheanacho, DC14. I like Iheanacho. I think he's understated. He's young. He's played for Sporting. He's played for Amorim. I think he would do that. I think he'd do quite well. And hopefully, Imagine if we got Kuna, Edison, and Anacho. They're literally 3 players we've been talking about on here for at least 12 months, some of them longer. So it would be great. It's always great when you get players that you wanted before the club got linked to them. Like Bruno was one of those. What about Frimpong, Mark? Do you think it can happen? I have got no idea about Frimpong in relation to who he's being linked to. I've not heard anything about Frimpong for a very long time. I know Man United were interested, and I spoke about it a few weeks ago. It got verified from a very, very good source, not at Man United, that there is interest from Man United for Frimpong, but it's gone very, very, very quiet ever since then. He has been linked to Liverpool. Obviously, they need a replacement for Trent, and I think he would work quite well. But it has gone very quiet around Frimpong. I think he would like to come and play in England again. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was at Man City, and I think he still retains a flat or something in Manchester. So look, maybe that one will happen. Like, not everything around United will be known at the end of April. I think we're in quite a fortuitous situation actually at the moment, where we know we're getting Kuna, we know we're getting Delap. We now know we're looking at Edison. Like last year, we didn't even know at the end of May we wanted Yoro, Agate, Mazraoui, De Ligt or Xerxes. So we didn't know any of our summer targets at the end of May last year. And at the moment, we potentially know 3 of them. So I wouldn't be too worried about some of the positions at the moment, because you actually want some of them to be a bit quiet. It's still only April. Like, the transfer window doesn't open till June. So I don't need to know everything at the moment. I'm quite happy that we know Kuna, Delap, and potentially Edison now as well. But maybe Frimpong will come through. I mean, that would be amazing. I mean, imagine if we got Iheanacho, Edison, Frimpong, Kuna. Like, they're literally the 4 players I always mention. That would be amazing. But I do agree with the comment before. Let's just be careful about spin and expectation, because that would be amazing. Mazraoui says, why not Chelmini? He's disgruntled and Madrid wants at least 60 million for him. Varane also recommended him to go to United. Here we go. Is Chelmini not injury prone though? I feel like he is. It's not really worked out for him that well at Real Madrid, has it? And the fact, actually, I'm just going to reserve judgment for a minute, but I don't really want to go for another Real Madrid player. I mean, he has had a lot of injuries. Quite lengthy ones as well. I mean, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 injuries. And 7 of them have been at Real Madrid. His last 3 injuries have been foot or ankle injuries. I mean, none of them are particularly long, but I did have a feeling he was a little bit injury prone. And 25 now, only just 25. I mean, look, there's a good player there, but I just don't know whether we've got a good record of taking Real Madrid players away, have we? So, Jacob says, I know it's unlikely, but what if we are spun again? You know what? I think being spun by a story is always a possibility when you're talking about Manchester United. But I think when you've got David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano talking about advanced talks with Kuna and, talks with Delap and Edison, I think those are genuine. I can't really think of that many occasions where one of those 2 journalists have mentioned a player and we haven't ended up getting them or being unlucky. I mean, David Ornstein was talking about Kenda at the end of, or the start of February. We didn't get him because Chelsea swooped in. So, obviously we don't always get them, but we're clearly looking at these players. It's not like these aggregators on social media you've never bloody heard of. I mean, there must be about 8 on X at the moment that 3 months ago I'd never heard of. And now they're all bloody ITKs knowing everything, which obviously I don't think they do. I just go with what I know. If occasionally we get something, but Romano and Ornstein are the ones really. Tavia says that's just 1 Tchouaméni injuries, says Tavia. And I know what you mean. That's just one Tchouaméni injuries. Brilliant. I didn't even get it myself there. He's basically saying that's just one too many injuries, but if you say it like that's just one Tchouaméni injuries, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's what we're here for. You know, well done, well done. What about Camavinga? Well, what about Camavinga? I'd love him, but we're never going to get him, are we? He'd be a fantastic player for Manchester United. Elise. Here's a question. Would Elise have worked in an Amorim system? I don't know whether he'd be good enough defensively to play wide, but I think he could probably do one of the number 10 roles, couldn't he? Yeah, we missed out on him, and I think that that was something that bothered Ineos. I mean, would Ten Hag still be in a job if we'd got Elise? I don't know. There's one for the boffins. Remember Kim Min-jae, says Dylan. Hey, mate, I've got to put my hands up here. I was really, really excited about getting Kim Min-jae, and it hasn't worked out that well at Bayern Munich, has it? He was an absolute colossus at Napoli, though, wasn't he? And look, maybe at Man United he would have been really good. I always think it's very unfair when a player goes to another team, especially in another league, and doesn't do well, and then people go, I'm glad we didn't get him, because you just don't know. He might have been a good player here. But yeah, it didn't particularly work out. Somebody just mentioned Eze or Mbeumo. Mate, I know Beth talks about it all the time, and that was from DC14. I would bloody love Mbeumo. I mean, I don't know, well, I do know. It's probably because he hasn't got a British passport, because in the media in the UK, they never used to shut up about Ivan Toney. I mean, it's amazing what Ivan Toney's doing at a Brentford side, scoring all these goals at Brentford. It's unbelievable what he's doing at Brentford. Well, I think it's even more unbelievable what Mbeumo's doing from the wing at Brentford. He's got like 16 Premier League goals, might have more than that now, and about 6 assists. It's unbelievable what Mbeumo has done at Brentford. And Wiz has done well as well, to be fair, but from the wing. So he's got 18 Premier League goals. I would be all over an Mbeumo deal. Might not be fashionable, but here's an argument for you. I think what Mbeumo's done at Brentford is more impressive than what Ivan Toney did, and Ivan Toney was bloody impressive. But from doing that from the wing and getting more assists as well, I think he's brilliant. And I think he's about mid-20s, isn't he? So he's a player that if Brentford said they wanted £60 million for, I would struggle to argue. I don't think they will get 60. I think it'll be more close to 50. But yeah, a very, very good player. The question is with Mbeumo, do you think he could work centrally? Because what you don't want to do is get a wide player that doesn't really suit the 10, which we need. But I'd take Mbeumo over Eze. But I don't. A lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I think I would take Mbeumo over Eze because he just seems to do it more consistently. And I think there are myths around Eze's injury record, but it feels like Mbeumo's doing it every week, whereas with Eze, I don't know whether it is injury or whatever, it seems to come in spurts. But yeah, look, they're both good players, but I think I would probably go for Mbeumo because I think what United need at this point... Look, I really like Eze, and I'm probably in the minority. In fact, let's just it's a Friday night. Let's do a poll. Who would you take? Who would you take? Eze or Mbeumo? And I don't disagree that Eze might be the better flair player with the better talent, but... what have we always discussed? Do Man United need more Jadon Sanchos, more Antonys, more Di Marias, more Alexis Sanchez's, or do we actually need more Bruno Fernandez's? And what I mean by that is players that are available all the time and consistently give their best. I don't think we need any more flair players that are hot and cold. I think we need a player that can do it week in, week out. And Eze may be a better talent than Mbeumo, but he does it every week. And that, to me, is what Man United need. But Harge says, do you not think Eze would be better, more central? And that ultimately comes down to the system. So I don't think we're signing either of those players, by the way. I just think it's a nice Friday night conversation. We won't sign either of those players because financially, we haven't got a bloody chance. But Would you rather have Mbeumo or Eze over Semenyo? Because I would, and we're linked to Semenyo. And would he not be the same? I've watched Semenyo play, and I don't think he's any more suitable for our system than Eze or Mbeumo, to be honest. Every time, we'll be watching him at the weekend. I mean, it's a player to watch, isn't it, Semenyo? But every time I watch Bournemouth, he's a winger. So if we're looking at Semenyo, then why would Mbeumo or Eze not work in an Amorim system? And I'd rather have them over him. And I think he's a good player, but I think Mbeumo and Eze are on a different level to Semenyo. So it's interesting that we're being linked to Semenyo for 70 million quid. That would get you Mbeumo and Eze. Not both, but it would get you one of them. And I would rather go for that. Kartik says I'd go for Semenyo over Eze. That's absolutely fine. I don't think we'll get him, by the way. Mohem says, come to the east coast of US. West coast is mid. I love both. I've never been, but east coast, west coast, east side, west side, I don't care. I actually do want to go to both anyway. And I want to go Texas, Philadelphia. I want to go. I'd like to just go to America for 6 months and just travel around doing my live streams from a different city. That'd be good. Sponsored by not Chevrolet. Mojo's in the house. He's just gifted 5 memberships. The legend is in the house. Thank you very much for that. Smoke has gifted a membership as well. I forgot it was Friday night. You can gift memberships on a Friday night if you want to. Thank you very much for that. Shahin says De Ligt wasn't great at Bayern either, to be fair. Yeah, fair point. And Mark Fahy has given us a super chat. Get your questions in anyway for the last few minutes. We've still got a good 10 minutes to go. Mark Fahy says, some people mock about De Ligt's performances and then only care about how important he is when he's out for the season. Spot on, Mark. Spot on. And I think, look, I would be one of those people that would acknowledge that De Ligt has been poor this season. But I've always liked De Ligt as a player. And I think that sometimes it's harsh to say he was shit, give him 5 out of 10. Because I do like him and I know what he's like as a person and I know he cares and I know he works really hard. But you can't, that's Player FC if you ignore it. Like, you have to be honest. You have to be honest about Garnacho, even though you like him. You have to be honest about all players. And De Ligt hasn't been his best this season. And it's been weird because he started the season quite well under Ten Hag. Then Amorim came in, who loves him, and he's not been very good. But typically, I think in the last few weeks, De Ligt has got better again, and now he's injured. But those players are worth their weight in gold. I'm not likening De Ligt to like John O'Shea or Darren Fletcher or Wes Brown, but he's the equivalent of that at the level we are now. When we had these amazing Premier League sides, John O'Shea, Wes Brown, Darren Fletcher, really important players because they might not start every game, but they still play about 75% of your games because they're really important. And De Ligt is one of those players, and he will be a miss. He will be a miss over the next few weeks. Gabriel Akari has just gifted 5 memberships. You're a legend, mate. Welcome to Mason, who's a new member as well. Avram Glazers is sponsored by Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's do it. Louis says that'd be a great idea, Mark. And PMV Patrick says sent a membership. Maybe we could do it for the World Cup next year. Because let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of shit games. Mojo, thanks for the gifted memberships as well. You spelled Mbeumo wrong. MB. Yes. Oh wow. I got 2 letters wrong. You've got too much time on your hands if that's bothering you, mate. Anyway, on that, 63% of you would take Mbeumo over Eze on that poll there. Thank you very much. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. We're only 10 away from 1,000 likes. Alias makes a great point. Remember, he says, no, De Ligt wasn't very good under Ten Hag either. Remember the West Ham game and that miss. Oh, mate. You know what? I don't often think about it, but because I'm happy with where we are now. But you know what's interesting is that it just shows how, I suppose, bad but concerning the ownership are, because they sacked him because we lost to West Ham. If De Ligt had scored that goal, which he should have done, or Michael Oliver hadn't given that dodgy penalty, which he shouldn't have done, they wouldn't have sacked Ten Hag. And that's the thing with me about Sir Jim, is that the sacking of Ten Hag was so wafer thin, could have gone the other way, that it just worries me a little bit about their decision making. Like, I don't mind an owner that sacks a manager in an international break because you've thought about it and you're going to do it. But when you sack a manager because you lost to West Ham but you easily could have won, it felt like they were just waiting for him to lose a game. But you know what? You know, when you look at Ten Hag's results, they weren't great, but they weren't as bad as they've been now. Look, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have sacked Ten Hag. I don't believe in looking back. We've got to look forward. But when I say we shouldn't have sacked Ten Hag, it's only because I'd like Amorim to have come in the summer. I really wish we'd got Amorim in the summer. I feel bad for him that, you know, when we got Jose, his first interview, the US tour, I think it was the US tour with Jose, the excitement, the buzz, the transfers. I feel bad for Amorim that he hasn't had that, because what he's had is a shit show. No summer, no pre-season, no transfers, just thrown in at the shit end with a team that was struggling. Rangnick Mark II, but at least Amorim had a contract, whereas Rangnick... I tell you what, if they brought... Imagine, this is a good point. If they had brought Amorim in as an interim with a view to giving him a job in the summer, he'd been sacked. He'd have been sacked. The worst thing Rangnick did was not signing that contract as an interim, because I wish he had, but obviously not. Summer says, would you rank Eze, Elise and Neto? I like all three, but I would say Neto's the worst of the three, Eze second and Elise first. But I do like Neto, but I think Eze and Elise are better. What is one thing you like about Lindelof ability-wise, says Ishmael? Do I have to? Do I have to? Look, Lindelof's a nice guy. Well, I don't know whether he's a nice guy. He might be a knobhead. But I don't have anything... I suppose what I don't dislike Lindelof. I think he's a very inoffensive player. So it's nothing personal. But if I'm being honest, for a very long time, Victor the Vacuum, you know, and that's not in a good way. Like, I just think when he plays, it's problematic for everybody else. And I just don't think he... You know what? In 10 years' time, if I said to you, Victor Lindelof, what was he like at Man United? What would you say? And I just think he's not strong enough. He's not quick enough. He's not confident enough on the ball to play for where we want to go. I think if Lindelof played for Everton, he'd be an okay centre-back. You know, I don't think he'd be Tarkowski. I don't think he'd be their best centre-back. I think he's been over-promoted. I think that's a fair thing to say. He's an okay centre-back who is never starting for Arsenal. I mean, that's a great point. He's never starting for Arsenal, is he? He's never starting for Chelsea. He's never starting for Liverpool. He's never starting for Man City. He's never starting for Newcastle. Like, does he start for West Ham? Maybe. And I think that's the best thing I can say about Lindelof is he might start for West Ham, you know? Yeah, he might start for West Ham. I think that's about as good as I could say. And he's, you know what? This is not his fault, by the way. This is Manchester United's problem, okay? At no point did Victor Lindelof ever look like a player for Manchester United. I forgive the first 2 years because you might go, maybe he will become it. He's been at this football club for 8 years. And that, in a sentence, tells you the problems at Man United. He's been here for 8 years. And we've known for 6 he's not good enough. And that is the mic drop, isn't it? You know, and that's not Lindelof's fault. I mean, he's earned a bloody good money out of it, hasn't he? But 8 years at this football club, and we've all known for 6 he's not good enough. So why is he still here? How many contracts has he actually had? But that he won't be the only one. But, you know, you wonder why Man United aren't successful. And then you go, Victor Lindelof's been here for 8 years. There will be others. There'll be others who've been here way too long. And that's not his fault. That's the ownership not being ruthless enough. And I was asked by Stretford End today. He said, I'm starting to get really excited about the summer transfer window. Are you? And I said, it's about outgoings for me. Because I was quite impressed with what we did incoming last year, but outgoings were terrible. So, again, it's all right getting Edison and Delap and Kuna, but who's leaving? We need to move some out. SG says, Bruno, Mata, Martial aside, have we actually signed any attacking wide midfielder that has been successful since 2013? Silence is golden, golden. I can't think of anyone. You know when you say to your brain, don't think of pink penguins, and all you can think of is pink penguins. All I can think of is Sancho and Antony, and I can't go past those two. Ahmad's not a bad one, to be fair. From who's that? Myla. Ahmad's a good one. Yeah, I think that's a fair one. Yeah, I knew there'd be somebody. Ahmad's a good one. Ander Herrera's not a wide attacking midfielder, Harry. Just to let you know that. Yeah, Ahmad would be a good one. Oren says, Oren, thanks very much for your super chat. He says, hi, Mark. I know we're going in for a midfielder, but I would like to see Mainoo back in the 6 or 8 before the end of the season because we haven't seen him play there in ages. What do you think? I don't know why I was doing that. Mainoo played there a year ago in the Euros. I know there are people out there saying, I told you he's a 10. I told you he's a 10. Well, I'll tell you this. He's not a 10. He's not a 6. Not an 8. He's a kid learning the game, and he could still be absolutely anything. But I like Mainoo. I like my preference for Mainoo is an 8. I don't think he's quick enough and mobile enough to play as a 10, but I think he's too. I've always said this as a 6. He's got too many attacking tendencies to stick him as a 6. You saw that goal against Lyon. We've seen his close footwork. But I don't think he's mobile enough to play as a 10. So I like him as an 8. So I would like to see him next to an Agate or an Edison or someone like that. But that doesn't mean he won't be a 10. That doesn't mean he won't become a 6. He's too young to decide what he is at the moment. But I mean, he's a fantastic talent, and we'd be bloody idiots to let him go. Which I don't think we will. I never thought we were going to let him go. Garfield's gifted a membership. Thank you very much for that. Brooksy, what do you think Agate gets subbed before Casemiro in some games? Is it an injury worry or something else? No, Brooksy. I mean, look, you might be right. Agate might be carrying a knock. That can happen at this time of the season, and you're just, dealing with stuff. I remember years ago, we had a really successful season, and I've told this story before, but it's Friday night, so I'll do it again. We had a really bad winter. And it was really bad weather. So loads of games got cancelled. And I used to play Saturday, Sunday football. And basically, we did really, really well. We got to cup finals and we were in a league race. And a lot of the games from the winter got rearranged midweek. And it got stupid. Like, you'd be playing Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday because of the fixtures. Too much football. And I kept getting these really bad pains in my shins. So I went to the doctor and he said, you've got shin splints and you need to stop playing for a few months. And it was the middle of April. And I was like, okay. And I didn't stop playing. I knew if I'd said, oh, can I carry on playing? The doctor would have said no. So we had like cup finals and stuff coming up. You're the same as me. There's just no way you're going to sit there and go, oh, well, my season's over. So what I used to do is you just manage it. I'd said to my manager, look, I've got this. And when it hurts, I want to come off if we're winning the game. And that's what I did. You manage it through. And some people get these little ankle problems or, a bit of a groin issue or something like that where it's not quite a tear. You just got to manage it. So maybe that is happening with Agate. Or maybe what I think at the moment, he just trusts Casemiro more. And he got it absolutely spot on against Lyon. And I'll say it again. That winning goal that Maguire scored, how many times have we seen a player with space in front of them on the edge of the box shoot? I'm not naming names, but there's so many people that, especially in that, I don't think Casemiro gets enough credit for that assist to Harry Maguire. Because I'm telling you now, people will be going Rashford, Garnacho, Antony, whatever, right? I think Bruno, in that situation, is going to shoot. And I don't even think you can blame them. You know, you're lost in this amazing atmosphere. There's 2 minutes to go. You've got space in front of you. You're near the edge of the box. And you know you could score a historic goal to send them through. I think there's a lot of people who are going to shoot. I think De Bruyne's probably going to shoot. Well, maybe not De Bruyne. But I think a lot of people are going to shoot in that situation. Because it was a shooting position. You shouldn't have shot, but it was in that environment, in that atmosphere, at that moment. And remember, Lyon were backing off because they were down to 10 men. He's not that far away from the edge of the box, and you could definitely shoot. To go, I'm not going to shoot. I'm going to put this to the back post where I know Harry Maguire will win the header, doesn't get enough credit. It really doesn't. Because you watch it again, and you should watch it again anyway, because it's an amazing moment. But you watch it again. I was watching it a couple of days ago, and every time I watch it, I think the same thing. He really could have had a shot there. And he was right not to, but how many people do you think would have had a shot in that situation? And I'm not knocking them for it. I mean, in that situation, I'd have had a thought, and I'd have bloody missed. But to not shoot from there and do what he did doesn't get enough credit. It was absolute world-class composure, experience, the right decision. And I think that you know what? I don't think it happens in football, but there's certain plays in football that should be studied. There's certain situations that should be studied. How somebody defends I saw Mazraoui do it a couple of weeks ago, or maybe months ago, where he was defending on his own. I think it was a 2v3, and the way he backed off, and then went into it, or maybe it was De Ligt, I can't remember. I think it might have been De Ligt, actually. It was just brilliant defending in that situation when you're outnumbered. But yeah, that Casemiro thing should be studied. If I was teaching people how to, you know, well, Man United players should study it, because we shoot too much. If I'm Amorim, that's what I'm showing them. I'm going, this is why you shouldn't shoot too much, because there's a better ball. Instead of you shooting from 30 yards with less than 5% chance of scoring, if you pin it up to the back post where you've got Harry Maguire, there's a 50% chance he's going to get his head on that. So, and that, you know, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, look, I think Ugarte should be playing ahead of Casemiro. Of course he should. Like, Casemiro is a player that we've tried to sell twice in the last 2 transfer windows, and he's 33. Ugarte we spent £60 million on, and is in his mid-20s. But again, you know, Amorim got it right. Casemiro got 3 assists, did he? I don't know. Yeah, brilliant. Would you take a 19-year-old Martial and an 18-year-old Rashford right here, right now? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Tony. I mean, I tweeted it. It's probably still there. There was a time where I said Martial and Rashford are going to be here for the next 10 years. Imagine what we're going to do. And I don't take it back. At that age, I thought we had something very, very special. And you can think what you like about them. I will argue with anybody that there was a time where they were so exciting. And again, that probably needs studying as to why it went wrong. Martial probably explained what went wrong with him. He got played a lot when he was injured, and he couldn't, you know, it broke him. Rashford, I don't know. I don't know. If I was studying what went wrong with Rashford, I think there's too many question marks. Some people would say, you know, believed his own hype. Some people would say he was overhyped. I don't really know. Only Marcus Rashford knows. I think it would be unfair to say why it didn't work out with Rashford, but ultimately he's not the only player it's not worked out with. I thought when we got Memphis Depay, we were going to get a bloody good player as well. Mojo says, we need experienced players in the summer right now. Whoever we might sign and those we seek to move on, we might be left with a team in a crash. Good point, Mojo. Good point. We definitely do need to get some experience in. What a great show tonight, and especially the last 20 minutes. Brilliant. Absolutely loved that, especially the bit about Casemiro. I love those sort of conversations. So big up the community as always. Absolute legends. I might be a bit early tomorrow because my daughter's playing in a cup final tomorrow with her academy. So I don't know what time it's kicking off at the moment, but I might need to be might not be able to do it at 10, in which case it might be an hour earlier or something like that. So we'll have a morning show, but it might be a little bit early tomorrow. Fantastic show tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you have a great evening, day, morning, whatever you're doing. And I will catch you all later. We'll get the preview up for the Bournemouth game at some point as well. But there's no rush on that. Sunday will come. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. And thank you very much for watching.